Hey everybody, welcome to We Watch TV, the podcast about the TV we watch. I'm Daniel, she's Hope. This is episode 57, and I'm hungry.
You're hungry?
I should have got a snack before we started, but there's nothing in there.
There's nothing in the working Susan?
Yes, we don't have a lazy Susan.
It looks
we
like
have
a lazy
working Susan because it doesn't have it looks like one from the outside, but when you get in there, it's just a shelf. There's no spinny thing.
Is that even like a familiar term, or is that something like Appalachian?
What, lazy Susan?
That we've been taught. Yeah, like is it an
I have
actual
no idea.
cabinetry
As
name?
long as I have lived in houses, and of course I will.
Again, you're
I would
from
say all
the
of the houses that I've ever
Appalachian
lived in are in Appalachia. I've
Yes.
always known that what a lazy Susan is. So
So a lazy Susan is like a cabinet that's like underneath the counter, right? You open it up. It kind of looks like it's like a corner thing, right?
yeah, like all the ones I've ever interacted with have been everybody has that one kitchen cabinet that's in the corner.
In the corner.
And it has that screwy door that opens up that breaks all the time, or at least all the ones I've ever made. Is it me?
I think it's you. You're very rough with everything.
And inside of it, instead of just going out and having a standard cabinet, there's like a little spinny disc in there that you put stuff on and it spins around.
I don't understand why that would be lazy, though, when that actually seems like it is working. So we always called it, like, because I'd just be like, get into the lazy Susan. And Daniel's like, well, this technically isn't a lazy Susan. And then we're like, oh, is it a working Susan? So it's been just a terrible joke that probably no one else listening is going to find funny.
I just Googled lazy Susan online. None of them were in a cabinet. They were all spinny things that you sit out on top of the cabinet and put stuff on. So now I don't even really understand.
Oh my gosh. So that coffee thing I bought that I was going to decorate and put K-Cups on before I got sick of K-Cups that could spin is technically a lazy Susan?
According to the internet.
Okay, people of the world, maybe we'll put another Instagram poll up.
Yeah, what do you think a lazy Susan is? Because I'm confused now.
I always thought it was just the corner cabinet thing and that it didn't have to spin. Now, the one in my childhood home did spin, so it was your traditional lazy Susan.
Yeah, the one in my childhood home spun as well.
Whereas we just have a simple working Susan.
Yeah,
it's
it
just
doesn't
a
spin.
Odd cabinet that we just cram like canned stuff at the bottom, cereals that never fit properly at the top.
Well, because we're a family of two. We don't go through that so much cereal. Walmart.
Well, three, but our Marvy
he doesn't eat cereal.
cereal.
Walmart won't sell non-family size box of cereal, two of them to me. I would purchase them if they would sell them to me, and so they're all like a quarter of an inch too tall.
And if you guys are like, well, go somewhere else, not Walmart. Hello, welcome to Small Town Living 101. Technically, the Walmart isn't even in our town. What'd you say?
Welcome to living in Appalachia.
Hey, now I'm from Appalachia, but my hometown, we had multiple options. We had stuff like Kroger's.
And we don't. Walmart's are closest to us. There is a Target. Well, there was a Target 45 minutes away. What happened to that? It fell off the side of the hill.
It did. That wasn't a full service grocery Target, though.
No, it wasn't.
I have to correct you on
that. They had that
yeah.
cereal I liked there.
If you guys want to Google, it always had my cereal choices too. Google like West Virginia Target, like falls off like cliff.
Yeah.
Or falls into the ground, you'll find it. Like I had people from like other states like asking me, and I'm like, yes, that's the Target that I shop at. We went wildly off topic on that one.
That's fine.
Talking about cabinetry, lazy Susans, our working Susan.
Target falling off a mountain.
And again, we're probably the only people that think this joke's even funny.
I imagine so, yes.
I hope people are still listening to this podcast right now, and they're like, you know what, these guys have had it. They think squirt's funny. I don't know, what else were we cackling about recently?
I don't know, probably something horrible.
Probably
a bunch of dark jokes that we leave out of this podcast.
Probably.
So, hey, so you have sent me a very chaotic list of show notes today, but a lot of them seem to reveal some news items that we want to cover before we talk about what we've been watching.
These show notes, I channeled your brain since you're never organized, and basically it was just stuff that I remember to jot down throughout the week. I did not put them in the traditional format because you tend to deviate, so come for my chaos, I'll come for yours. You know why we're having a tiff right now?
Why?
We're still having that energy from Abbott Elementary.
Oh, we tried again, everybody.
Those of you familiar with this podcast, we said every time we try to watch Abbott Elementary, we have like a little, not like a full-blown argument, but like a little, we get snappy with each other.
You know, you
like
say it's not
tiff.
a full-blown argument, but I always end up having to apologize.
Do you want to make it a full-blown argument? Do you want to? Do you want to try me?
I'm good right now.
You're good?
I'll save it up for later.
We finally did watch more of Abbott Elementary. I started watching Abbott Elementary before you joined me. Then you sat down, probably got on my nerves one night by your little snarky remarks. So we stopped watching it. Tried to watch it again. Tensions were high. Stopped watching it. I don't know if we're absorbing the energy and the stress from teachers, since it's a show about like an elementary school and the teachers there. It's like done Office style, Parks and Rec Office style, that like mockumentary style filming.
It's the most Office style show I've seen in a while. Like, just candidly, just we're ripping off The Office entirely in every way.
What we do in the shadows is very
but
Office style.
that was sarcastic. That was spoofing it to a certain extent.
I don't mind this format because I like breaking the fourth wall, so it doesn't really bother me. I know in The Office they ended up showing like the camera crew. I'm really glad that they never showed it on Parks and Rec. And we have seen the camera crew when they get like eaten and stuff on What We Do in the Shadows. So that's kind of how Abbott Elementary is. I feel like I relate to it because I grew up and my mom was a teacher in an elementary school. So I would always kind of hear like her tales from it. And I've also volunteered at schools before, worked a lot with children in the past, so I kind of get that vibe from it. Your mom was also a teacher, not an elementary teacher, but you
Both
come from it.
Teachers,
you come from that education background, and like not only my mom, but like my I'm gonna say it in Appalachian right now. My aunts, all my aunts are teacher, not my aunts. We say aunt now. Aunt probably is the wrong way to say.
All my kinfolk, they're all teachers.
So we come from a big family of teachers. But if you like that kind of style, like workplace comedy, dramedy, I think that you would enjoy Abbott Elementary. I think it's hilarious so far, except for when Daniel's getting on my nerves while we're trying to watch it.
It's been fine so far. I wouldn't say better than fine.
Just fine.
Yeah, just fine.
I've been watching some episodes without you, though.
None of the exactly. You have. None of the characters so far have like really like latched on in a way to me that like the main character, she kind of annoys me. I think she's supposed to be a little annoying.
I think she's supposed to be like a Leslie Knope type character.
Yeah, so I think that's hitting for me, but like there's no other characters that have like really like attached themselves to me in what I've seen so far.
I'm hoping they stick with the comedy. Now keep in mind we are on season 1. Season 3 just finally came back because it was delayed from the strike. I think there's 2 episodes out of season 3 right now. We've been watching it airs on ABC, but we've been watching it on Hulu. I think what like kind of concerns me with this show is Janine is the young teacher in her 20s. She's really wanting to make a difference. She's wanting to really touch these kids and kind of make that impact on their lives. And I've seen, you see it with any career, but you can especially see it with the way education has gone and the stress that teachers are under. I just worry that the end of the season, even though it's a comedy, like Janine's like spark and fire, like she's going to be beat down by the system and the different stuff they have to go through. Because I've seen that happen to like real life teachers. You see it happen all the time. So I hope that the show keeps the humorous vibe and that she continues to try to, want to be that light, make that change. And then you have the contrast, the older teacher that's been there, that she's the kindergarten teacher. She's been there for many years. And she's not always like necessarily shutting down Janine's ideas, but she has that old school mindset. And I just think it's really interesting because I would always remember like my mom's stories about being a teacher. And I remember when my mom was like a new teacher, kind of fresh out of it. And then when she was kind of on her way out to retirement and would complain that she had to learn, I don't even know, does Palm Pilot still exist?
No.
Is that a relic of the past?
It does not.
Well, they had all the teachers needing to use those for something, and I remember Mom complaining about that. And then they had them use I know Blackberries are a relic of the past.
Yeah,
I think that was right before she retired. And there was a whole episode like devoted to like the teachers having to like learn a certain technology. I think it's a good one. If Daniel could just get himself together and not be snippy towards me on the couch, we could really vibe with a new show.
I believe it started because you insulted my guacamole.
Thank you very much. Runny.
It's not supposed to be chunky.
All right. We have a lot of announcements, though. I think that's what you were getting at with
it
my
was what I was trying
energy.
to get to. Yes.
So lots of announcements came out. We do have the results first off from follow us if you don't already do so. We Watch TV podcast on Instagram. We've been trying to do more polls, Q&A type things on there. And we had the final results for what people enjoy most about the Super Bowl. Snacks still won, but I had said in the previous podcast when the poll was not complete that no one had voted for the game yet. We had one person voted for the game itself. And I know that person who voted, because I know them personally, they are not a fan of either team. So I think they just like football.
Yeah, probably.
And our announcements that we've got going on is a pretty big one. The Bears season 3 is coming in June. This June, according to what I saw. What do you think of that?
I mean, I hadn't even seen any announcements about them filming that yet, so it'll be interested to see, like, are they filming now till June, or have they already been filming and we just haven't been, allowed to know that that's happening? I don't know.
It says that the release is June 2024, and I think that's probably one of the best news that I've heard in a while to come out of the TV kind of sphere.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that.
I thought for sure, I was like, if we get it in 2024, I'm like, it's going to be late in the year. And June really isn't that, like, that's kind of like mid in the year, you know? It is really kind of the halfway point of the year, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I just thought so.
Yes.
And then I thought, oh, it could be even worse. We might have to wait till 2025.
Yeah, I was worried about that, but looks like we're getting it about the same time we normally get it. We usually get it like late spring, early summer, the past 2 seasons.
Will it be weekly release? Because the first time was, last time I don't think was.
Season 2 was not, because we shredded through that in a weekend.
Yeah, we did.
Because if anybody's interested, our thoughts on season 2 of The Bear are in episode 23, Yes Chef, that came out on June 27th, 2023. Again, we basically binged the whole show on a long weekend and made our whole podcast episode that week about it, because we love The Bear. The Bear is an excellent show. From season 1 they released, it was like on FX before, and then they put it all on Hulu.
Because we started watching and we were able to pretty much binge it over the course of a couple days. And when we started watching it, the last episode of season 1 had not dropped yet, but it just happened to be the day we tuned in for it. Yeah. It was already on there.
And then season 2, they just dropped a whole thing on Hulu, so I don't know.
I think that the show itself started gaining popularity after season 1, but I do believe season 2 gave it more notoriety, more popularity. With the strike delaying other shows, I think we might have to suffer through the weekly release.
Yeah, I would say it's more likely than not that they're going to put that out weekly just to stretch out content. Although I don't know, because it's not... The thing is with that show is it's like it's on FX. It's not like it's on one of the major networks or anything. They can't put that show on one of the major networks because of the language.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I mean, maybe they will, maybe they won't.
Hulu does weekly release all the time. Only Murders is weekly release.
Sure.
I think most of the streaming services other than Netflix for their popular stuff tend to go for weekly release, which is it's good for us in the We Watch TV podcast because we can stretch content out. But me as a person, one of the reasons why I took to streaming services so quickly, I like to sit down and binge a show. I love it. I like to let episodes. So sometimes what I tend to do is I'll let episodes stack. I think The Bear has now hit enough popularity where we are not going to be able to do that.
No.
To let episodes stack. We're going to have to watch it as it comes. So at least we're getting it.
Okay, so
in general.
The Bear season 3. Season 1, we had the one-shot episode where they did the entire episode in one shot, right? Season 2, they had the Christmas episode. All right, what kind of wild and crazy episode are we going to get in season 3 that they're going to just toss in there?
I have no idea, but I'm sure they will make it work. Season 2, I think, was better than season 1.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're both great. I think they're both great for different reasons. Like I said, I made this comment to you offline, but the longer we have to wait for the next season of The Boys, the harder it is for me to continue to hold The Boys as the best thing going with The Bear sitting out there. Now, of course, we don't know, but how many seasons The Bear is going to get. This might be it, season 3. I don't know what the shelf life is for that kind of show, but it's just The Bear is right there neck and neck.
Is this coming season of The Boys? We still don't have a release date yet.
No.
Unfortunate. Is it confirmed that it's the final season? Do we know?
No,
that for
it is
sure?
not.
So we're just making assumptions.
There's no confirmation whatsoever that The Boys is the final season.
I think one of the issues that we have with a lot, especially American TV shows, is that we milk our shows to death.
Sure.
And I wouldn't want to see it happen to The Bear or The Boys if you go one season too far.
Yeah.
You want to end it on kind of a good note. And I feel like The Boys, overall story arcs are starting to wind down, and that it's time to kind of wrap that up a little bit.
Every season they make Homelander that much more unhinged, and at some point it's going to become the problem that is going to end the show. And
well, I'm talking more about like Huey's arc and.
But I mean but Homelander, that's kind of been an arc unto itself, is the slow degradation of Homelander's like sanity essentially, and he's going to become a real problem when he just finally does flip out and lose it. And we kind of saw that at the beginning or at the end of the last season.
Yeah.
And
I mean, a problem for society, but I still think, I kind of disagree with what you're saying. I could see him like obliterating all the humans. That's a problem. I'm talking about simply story arcs. I think you can continue to make Homelander as psychotic as you want, but at some point we're going to have to end kind of Huey's arc, the journey he's going on. And what's Carl Urban's character's name? Why am I blanking on this?
Billy Butcher. Like he's kind of getting a little he's kind of taking a little bit of a dark path. Like those, I think of it from a character perspective, like what more can you do with those? And we know that Billy has taken the drugs, right? And they say that can alter like your lifespan because he's doing it differently. I don't remember what it's called. It's not Club V, right? That's something else that I'm thinking of. The drug he was taking?
Yeah,
it's something V. I don't remember exactly what it was. So
from that, I think you can continue personally, obviously from the existential way that Homelander could obliterate everybody if he really wanted to get that crazy and just laser everybody and kill everyone. I see what you're saying there, but I'm talking from a purely story arc point. How much more can you stretch out those arcs with those characters? I think you could dive in to make Homelander even crazier and crazier and crazier.
I think they all go hand in hand though, because I think that Huey's story through the series and Butcher's obviously tied to Homelander so much. I think they all come to a head where at some point something has to happen. And you know, it's the boys, so I'm not going to say they're going to defeat Homelander because I don't know what they might do with that situation, but I feel like that's the main arc that they're going for, is just kind of all those people's stories colliding with each other. And once they've resolved that, either this season or a season after that, you know, like, is The Boys a good show without Homelander? Like, let's say they defeat him and he's gone. Do you really carry on the show at that point?
But is Homelander the true villain? Or is it the people that made the superheroes?
That's a very good argument, especially for the first couple seasons. Homelander really, he was an antagonist, but he wasn't really the villain.
Used.
But I think he's becoming the villain now.
He's realizing his power and that what he can do, but I wouldn't call him the OG villain. Also, to continue to veer wildly off topic like we're doing right now.
We don't have a lot, so we're just going for it.
Let's just go for it. Let's just go for it. Jeffrey Dean Morgan is supposed to be in The Boys.
Yes.
That's
in the
Hillary
trailer.
Burton Morgan's husband. Is he playing somebody good or bad?
I don't know anything about his character. I don't even know that they've announced like his character's name right now. So
me either. So circling back to the bear, I see what you're saying. I think that the reason why I think that both seasons were great. The reason why I think season 2 was even better was the storytelling to me in season 2 was even better. We got to know more about like Carmi a little bit in season 1 and kind of what was going on, but we got to see the episode, the Christmas episode, chaotic, crazy. Yeah. Cousins episode that was focused on him. That was the best episode of the season. Was the best episode of the season. Richie, cousin, as we call him. So he's had so much character growth. And then even at the end where Carmi, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, this is a spoiler podcast, so we always do chapter markers. So if you've not seen the end of The Bear season 2, Carmi kind of gets stuck in the freezer during the big, and
it's his fault,
restaurant opening thing. It's his fault. And he starts yelling and cussing out Richie, cousin. And the normal reaction, I feel like in season 1, well, not normal, but what would have been was he would have yelled right back at him. And he was like, I love you to him through the door. And I'd like to see his character continue to evolve. I want to see cousin sing more Taylor Swift again. That was like the best. So I'm very excited for what The Bear season 3 has to offer. That's another show, though. I wonder, what is the shelf life of The Bear?
Yeah.
I think Only Murders, that you could go on with that shtick, the 3 of them solving murders and just coming up with chaotic stuff to do for seasons to come if you give them a good story, which that brings us to our other announcement. Who is confirmed to come back for the next season of Only Murders?
Oh, you're asking me, and immediately my mind blanked on her name.
Meryl Streep.
Meryl Streep.
Don't forget Meryl's name. How could you do that?
I don't know. It's been a long
She
day.
does. She traditionally in movies does not really do sequels. That's why she only made kind of that cameo appearance in Mamma Mia 2. That's just kind of her thing, not to do sequels. So now I've never really seen her on a TV show. This is a little different. So that's pretty exciting that we get to see more of her character. I'm excited about that.
I wonder with how her character arc was going in season 3 and her connection to Martin Short's character, if that's starting to wind towards wrapping up the series as a whole, like
I don't know.
leading to relationships. You know,
I mean,
stuff
I
like
thought
that, so.
my theory was that at the way season that was season 3, right?
Just swallow your tongue there.
Yeah, I about choked to death on my own spit. That was fun. My theory was that they were all going to have the next season be in LA because they were all having to go to LA for one reason or another, and then they were like, "No, we're not going to do that." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. Another piece of news here. Goosebumps has been renewed for season 2. And do you want to tell us a little bit more about the details of season 2?
Yes, I think everybody was kind of surprised because we hadn't heard anything. Because it's been months since season 1 of Goosebumps ended. But on Disney's latest earnings call, they made several announcements about new movies coming out, show renewals. And Goosebumps is coming back, but season 2 is going to be a new location, a new cast, and a new story. I'm sure they'll take bits and pieces from the Goosebumps books and work them in. The season 1 ended on quite a cliffhanger, though, I have to say. But sometimes some of those books
I was going to say
would
that.
end a little bit.
Didn't the books often kind of like you've resolved the story and then they did a little zing at the end with the understanding
sometimes.
we're not coming back to that, but it's just kind of haha.
I read all the Goosebumps books when I was in elementary school, so I don't have like clear-cut memories on how they ended, but I do think some of them did that.
I always like the raised font on the cover.
This
The
is very
Goosebumps,
nice.
it was bu- it
Touch
was
it.
very
It's
bumpy.
bumpy. They were great book covers for sure. So I'm excited to see what other kind of like Goosebumps books they bring in there. Obviously, if you watched the show in the 90s, which is more of like an episodic release, they really covered the book more the way the actual book was, and it was super cheesy, super duper cheesy. What Goosebumps season 1 tried to do, and we did talk about this in some previous episodes. I don't know the episode numbers when we did, but it would have been back around the fall when the show was airing. They kind of, if you've ever watched like a CW, like teen drama type, like Riverdale, things like that. Now I'm not going to really say Vampire Diaries, maybe a little bit because they did have a love triangle. They tried to make Goosebumps into kind of a show that'd be more akin to like a CW show than just the cheesy nature of the 90s show. And they put in elements of the books, like the Night of the Living Dummy, like that was part of the book. They even had like, I can't believe they did it, Go Eat Worms. That was one of my favorite in the first Goosebumps book I ever read, by the way, because I did not read them in order. It was the first one. I bought it at the Scholastic Book Fair. Do you remember the book fairs in school?
Yes, I do.
Best day of the year. Loved the Scholastic Book Fairs, but that was the very first Goosebumps book I read, and they even gave us a sprinkling of that, so I assume that's what they'll do with season 2. But I think a lot of us were surprised just because there was like nothing, no word on season 1. Now, Justin Long was in season 1, and he's a decently famous actor.
Yeah, B-list.
Yeah, and I'm like, so is he not going to, since it's a whole new cast, are they going to do what they've done with American Horror Story before, where they do bring back some of the same actors, but have them play completely different roles? But from everything I read, it said completely new cast. So I'm not.
I think I like
sure
that. I think I didn't watch all the Goosebumps with you, but I think I like that format. I think it gives them more freedom in season 2 to go into the other books, and bring in stuff
without having to connect it.
If they were constrained to the characters that they'd already got for one whole season. I think that would be kind of contain them a little bit on what they could do. But now they can basically just go to any of those Goosebump books and say, okay, we want to bring in some stuff from this one, and we want to bring in some stuff from this one, and we're writing whole new characters and arcs, so we don't have to worry about any of that debt of the story before us that's on top of it.
I think it'll be fun. I'm excited. No date of when it will be. Now, I do think we did announce this, but I have it on the notes just in case. Percy Jackson has been renewed for season 2, and it will be following the events of the second book. Daniel was like, I heard that they were done filming season 2.
Okay, you can stop dragging me. I apologized.
We had listeners be like, but aren't they getting a season 3? I swear I heard that from somewhere. Wait, I heard it from you guys. I was like, yeah, Daniel was popping off at the mouth on that one. I don't know what was going on
Don't
there.
get your news from TikToks, ladies and gentlemen. I'm excited for season 2. I think that
Same.
they announced season 2 the last time we were talking on the podcast where I corrected myself and said they hadn't announced a season 2. I said, if it's not the next couple weeks, I'm going to get a little worried. And it was like 2 days later.
It was during that earnings call.
Yeah.
Where they made all the announcements. The cast will definitely look older because they have aged.
Sure.
The boy that plays Percy is now the tallest one. By the way, the little one, what is his name? Grover on the show.
Yeah.
I've been sending you TikToks. The internet, your digital footprint is just such a thing on the internet now. He is the epitome of a theater kid. He has all these little videos where he's singing. He's singing Adele. Then he played Aladdin in a school play. I'm like, can we find a way, Lin-Manuel Miranda, to get this kid to sing in the second show, even if it's not relevant to the books? I cannot wait.
Let's not get singing in there if it's not relevant.
I still have not read the books yet because I've been so exhausted, but I guarantee you by the time season 2 rolls around, I will be ready. I'll be ready to critique.
For sure. There's no chance this comes out in this year, right?
I have a feeling. I think if it did, the best we'd be looking at would be, again, when this Percy Jackson season 1 came out December 2023. I think we'd be lucky to get it December 2024. I think our best case scenario would be like late winter, early spring 2025, which sounds weird
I'm
to
going to
say.
go spring to early summer 2025.
And speaking of shows that seem to have ginormous hiatus in between them and that I completely forget exist until it comes back out, then I get really into it and I get all about it. Then I finish it and, rinse, repeat, forget it exists again, forget the entire plot.
Yep.
Umbrella Academy, the final season is set to drop on Netflix on August 8th. So this summer,
I think the thing I remember most about this show is they always do a really good job of previously on. And that's what I'm going to need because we were talking on a run today. Neither of us can remember how this season, this last season ended.
This is how it ended. And I'm like, this is how it ended. And we're like, nope, that's how the season before this one ended.
Yeah.
Have we just fugue stated?
Was the last season the one they were like in that hotel most of the time?
Yes.
Okay. I thought like the universe imploded at the end of that. Like not the world, the universe.
What is this season? Okay, so Allison did the thing where she did like the reset and she ended up with her husband from the past season of the 60s. So that she was missing the whole time.
That was season 2.
I'll have to look some stuff up. No, because...
No. I don't know. That's what I said. This show, like you said, this show just comes. We watch it. We enjoy it. We like this show. I want to make sure we're very clear. We like this show.
We love it.
But as soon as it's over, it's just like, gone.
And Diego thought he had a kid in this recent season. And then it turns out that girl that he had been kind of like hooking up with, that she like made it up, that it wasn't their kid together. She hired another kid. And
she is actually one. And so the whole, okay. For everybody who doesn't know what the Umbrella Academy is, basically like there were a bunch of kids born on the same day in like 1980 something. Like their mothers were not pregnant, and then all of a sudden within 12 hours they were pregnant. They had the kid, right? And there were like hundreds of them. And this rich guy goes and tries to buy them all, and he ends up getting 7 of them, 8 of them.
My boss wants to buy my baby. Sorry.
And so so Diego's girlfriend turns out she's one of the kids that their father didn't get.
And Kate Walsh's character, who's working at the place,
she works for the time travel people. Yeah,
what season?
This show. If you haven't watched this show, it's wild.
There's been 3 seasons of it. Season 4 is the last season. See, I thought there were more than 3 seasons.
No, there's only 3 seasons. The 4th one coming here in August, and it'll be the final season. And it's wild, and I forget every time it ends.
There's the one guy that's like a gorilla.
Yeah,
that has the hots.
And he
for
lived
his
on the
sister.
moon for a little while.
Yeah, Dad sent me to the moon. That's like a big thing. And really, his dad sent him to the moon because he turned into a gorilla. He turned into a gorilla, and his dad was embarrassed by him, wanting to get him away. And he has the hots for his sister. Now, they're not sisters by blood, but they are raised together.
But they were raised
Allison,
together.
And she's awful.
They've got the monkey who is their butler.
Yes.
He's a chimpanzee. I'm sorry.
I like Klaus. And Klaus like went back in time at one point and was in the war and fell in love with that guy.
Yes.
And then he came back, and then he like say that he like invented a Backstreet Boys song or something. And they had the one guy that died when they were together in the 90s. But then for the one season
Klaus
finale,
can see ghosts.
Yeah, because
So
he's the only one that could see this character. Ben, that was his name, right?
the more we talk about this show, we're just confusing people.
Ben is the one that died, right?
We are legitimately giving spoilers for the
Yes.
show away, but I don't think anybody listening is actually being spoiled about anything.
Ben died on a mission referred to as the Jennifer incident, but appears regularly to Klaus and helps him occasionally. But then at the season finale, which must have been the finale of season 2, was when they stopped the apocalypse. They got out of the 60s or the 70s, wherever they were. They came back to the present, but it was the Sparrows Academy instead of the Umbrella Academy.
It was a different present, yes.
Yeah, and Ben was still alive, but he was a jerk.
Yeah.
So what happened at the end?
The end, the entire universe ended at the end of season 3, and then somehow
Are you sure?
it didn't. And when they were, and we saw their dad, who's now not dead, hanging out with this woman who they'd been teasing throughout season 3, if I remember correctly.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure that's how it ended. I mean, I couldn't tell you for sure.
I think you might be right.
Thank you.
Oblivion, shaken, the family confronts the deadly mysteries of the Hotel Oblivion and the growing suspicion that their mission is not what it seems. That's what it's
okay. Well,
saying.
anyways, if you're interested in a wild...
And it was 7 kids.
A wild and crazy time, I would suggest you jump in. You got 3 seasons of Umbrella Academy on Netflix, and it's a truly wild time.
It was a show. I started watching the first season right when it came out on Netflix because I was like, "Ooh, this is giving me X-Men vibes." Because it kind of does.
Yeah, it's an X-Men riff,
and I
for
think
sure.
the singer from My Chemical Romance, a band, wrote the comics. And the one character, the little sassy-mouthed one that's younger than everybody else.
Yeah.
He supposedly based that character on himself. And I remember I would watch it on my lunch break at work, and I watched the first 2 episodes, and I was like, this is weird enough that I think Daniel was gonna like it. And since it's got that comic book vibe, so then did I have you watch it? Or I just rewatched
I watched
it?
the first episode alone and then joined you on 2.
So yeah. Everything we're saying about it, you're like, oh my gosh, what a mess. These 2 are the worst people at reviewing TV shows. Why do they have a TV show called We Watch TV Podcast? When you watch The Umbrella Academy, you'll understand why we sound all over the place, because the show's all over the place. But it's definitely one of those shows that when we were watching it, I love it. And I can't wait to go to the next episode. I don't know why it's so forgettable, and I think it's because I feel like we have a lot of time in between seasons.
It feels like there's been at least 2 years between each season. So I don't know, but I'm excited for it.
Same.
May 16th. What's happening on May 16th, Hope?
Well, we already knew that we were getting back Bridgerton on May 16th. Should have had it sooner because it's been done for so long, but I digress. However, on Valentine's Day, we got the first 2 minutes of the first episode released to us. I cannot wait. I read the Bridgerton books, Romancing Mr. Bridgerton. Now, they're not going in order of the books anymore because that's the 4th book in the series. So I think because it's an ensemble cast, each book focuses on a specific character, but the show is an ensemble cast. So I think we're going to have some of Benedict's story kind of intermixed in here. But that book is my 2nd favorite of the Bridgerton series. I love a good unrequited love, friends. Enemies to lovers is my number 1 romantic trope, but then friends to lovers is my 2nd. And I'm just saying, Penelope's finally had her glow up, which we had seen images of, but now seeing the first clips, they finally have her hair looking nice. They have her some nice clothes. So excited. Somehow they've managed to do it. Luke Newton, who plays Colin, looks hot. I'm like, how are they going to make Colin look hot? All you have to do is wait a little bit for people to get a little older. Well done. Well done. Because he looks good. It's just the vibes are good. I'm feeling the vibes from the book. I'm so excited. Very excited for May. I feel like it has been a long time since we've had Bridgerton. Because we did not get new Bridgerton last year. We did get the Queen Charlotte story, which kind of filled that void and was very good, better than I expected. However, Netflix is giving us the half of a season treatment, which gets on my nerves. But you know what? At the end of the day, if that's what I have to do to not get the stupid weekly release, I'm cool with it. because I think they're only making us wait till like June, like later in June for the second
Yeah, it's not
season.
like they did the same thing with Witcher season 3,
which we have not finished.
They only it did not wait very long to release the second part. So
And
I'm not saying that makes it good. I'm just
I haven't even seen spoilers for The Witcher
no,
because everybody
I don't,
said it was awful.
I don't think so.
That's
so,
a whole other rant.
Speaking of Valentine's Day, which was the news of that came out, we also did partake in several different viewing options for Valentine's Day.
Yes.
We watched a movie, we watched a TV show, we watched a bunch of reruns of some TV shows.
Absolutely.
Where do you want to start out on that one?
Well, first off, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention our gourmet Valentine's Day dinner, which doesn't have anything to do with the TV, but we ordered Chick-fil-A.
Oh.
That's what we wanted. I told Daniel, I said, make sure you get plenty of sauce. Like, ask for plenty of sauce. Because sometimes, you know how places can be, they'll give you like 1 pack of sauce. That's not enough. They must have thought that we were having like a Valentine's Day party for 100 people.
Well, they probably were correct in thinking that, considering I ordered 60 nuggets. I went through and said, "Can I have 2 30-packs, please?" Guy didn't blink. Looked like he was like,
we ate them.
He was like, "Fine, like yeah, that's completely normal." And then I said, "Here, I need these 6 sauces," and he was like, "Cool." And then I showed you the receipt when I got back. Like he
you
just
don't
must
get charged for the sauce.
No.
You just like, we got so much Chick-fil-A sauce, Polynesian sauce.
I don't like the Chick-fil-A sauce.
Well, you are wrong and you are incorrect.
Okay, I like the sriracha.
Classic ranch is my favorite, which we already had at the house, but Polynesian sauce, Chick-fil-A sauce, buffalo sauce, all great. But anyway, we have a fridge stacked with extra sauces.
I think you're
To
through
last
most
a
of the honey
lifetime.
mustard at this point.
You think what?
I think we're almost out. I think the only thing we have left is buffalo and Chick-fil-A at this point. I think you're through the Polynesian.
We have Polynesian
do we?
sauce.
Okay.
Yes, we do.
That was
Don't you
too
take
sweet.
my Polynesian sauce.
The Polynesian sauce tastes very similar to the sriracha, just without the heat. And so I like the heat part
Polynesian
of that.
sauce is incredible and amazing. But so we had that. Daniel got me some chocolates, as he's done every year. You've gone up to, it used to be, which I'm not knocking, Whitman's or Russell Stover or Hershey's. Those are great. But Daniel's got me a box of chocolates for every Valentine's that we've ever spent together. So we've been Valentines since I was 18 years old. So that was a long time ago. I'm not going to do the math right now. Just several years. Several years. Don't you tell him how old I am on this podcast. I'm an elder millennial.
I wasn't going to say how old you are. I was going to say how many Valentine's Days it was.
It'd be 20.
There you go. Yeah.
Do the math on that, if you will. But you got me some Godiva chocolates. So you've gone up, like...
Yeah. As
in
you
quality.
increase your expendable income, you're able to go and out a
Sure.
little bit more. And Godiva makes it really easy to make those choices, but because of like starting in like December, honestly, they just are like, here's our Valentine's Day selection, and then when you pick one, they're like, hey, do you want this extra stuff too? And you go, yeah, I'll take that and that, and they just
So
make
it
it
really
so
wasn't
easy
a
on
last minute purchase. You
No.
you had a plan.
No, it's been in the basement for a while.
So when I was like, hey, remember to get me
Yeah, I was already in the house
you
at
were
that
like,
point.
don't insult me. Now, I did hound him to get me, and I didn't hound you, but I said, what I really, really want is one of those heart-shaped Great American Cookie Cakes.
You hounded me a little bit about that.
And I was like, make sure you order it. Make sure you get it. And that's been since, like, your birthday. Because one year you accidentally got me one of those cakes, and it was, like, the best thing ever. So we had our gourmet food.
Chick-fil-A is part of the reason that happened, by the way.
It really is.
Because the Chick-fil-A, for some reason... The Chick-fil-A...
You guys all need to know these details.
Listen. For some reason that year, the Chick-fil-A that we normally go to, that's just a regular, like, outside store, was closed or didn't have what we wanted. I don't know what the situation
out of what we
was.
wanted.
And so there's a Chick-fil-A in the mall right there next to it. And so I went there, and as I was walking through the mall, the Great American Cookie was right there, and they were like selling Valentine's Day cookies for like half off because it was the end of the day on Valentine's Day. And I was like, well, yeah, I'll just get one of these. She'll love it.
And I did. And we have a Great American Cookie store closer to our home. And ever since your birthday, I was like, I want a Valentine's Day cookie cake. So came through, had a gourmet meal, and then we both picked out some stuff to watch. So I went with I was like, I want to watch a rom-com. And I'm like, you know what? We could watch How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days for the 100th time, but I'll try to find something that we haven't seen. Because sometimes Netflix ones have funny ones. This one was not as funny as I would have liked. It was called Your Place or Mine, and it came out last year in 2023. Kind of two big stars headlining it, Reese Witherspoon and Ashton Kutcher. And that was about it.
The star power did not help.
It was like, okay, it reminded me of like a Hallmark movie, but with sex, because I don't think sex exists in the Hallmark movie.
No, they're all just Ken and Barbie dolls in the Hallmark world.
Okay, you don't have to go there. I'm just saying, like, kissing, it seems to be all they do, and usually it's the end of the movie. They've been going off script, though, and kissing in the middle act.
True.
Several Christmas movies this year, they did not wait for it to snow at the end to kiss. They kissed early.
They discovered a second script.
I guess. Took them so long to do it. So when I say it's like that, that's not me necessarily insulting the movie, because I like a good Hallmark movie.
I would be insulting if I said that.
I just thought I was going to get a little more with Reese and Ashton. I would give the movie a C-. What would you give it?
I'm sticking with the rating that I had as soon as the credits rolled. 2 thumbs down.
So you're not going to give it a grade? You're not going to give it an F?
No, 2 thumbs down.
Just 2 thumbs down?
2 thumbs down.
It's... Obviously, we knew the characters were going to get together. It wasn't
funny.
Yeah, it had its funny... It's probably its funniest moments were the ones that weren't the in-your-face jokes. Like, her friend that was in... Okay, so basically, Your Place or Mine. Let's give them the synopsis real quick. They met a long time ago, hooked up, decided just to be friends for obviously a misunderstanding. They're both not living their true dreams. She has since had a child. He's not the father of the child, but she's decided to have a more practical life. So she's still in LA. He's in New York. He wants to be a writer, but, writing's not really a stable career. So he's like a consultant, which I wouldn't think that's a stable career either, but apparently he's so good at it. He has enough that he doesn't have to work a regular 9 to 5, can have a bougie apartment in New York City with a decorator that comes in and sorts his books by color coding order, which I took issue with.
Yeah, everybody in the movie did too. That was like the one funny thing that was everybody actually did like drag that.
So they're on 2 different sides of the coast, and then she needs to go to New York to like take some test for some boring career instead of what she really wants to do, being a book editor, because she has this child now. She's all serious, and I don't know why. Oh, does he end up going to LA to watch her son?
She was going to have to come to New York to take her class to get this certification, and she had a babysitter fall out, and he volunteered to come watch the kid because he thought it was important that she go to New York and get that certification.
Yeah, because she's always
so
been
he's being a good
him.
friend in that case.
Yeah,
and so they switch living places.
So they're really not on screen together very much for the whole movie, and honestly, that's for the best.
Yeah, it really was.
I love Reese Witherspoon. Ashton Kutcher is enjoyable. Honestly, I'd prefer to see Ashton Kutcher being like a Michael Kelso or the guy from The Ranch, A Lovable Idiot. When he tries to be smart, it doesn't hit for me. Maybe it's because I'm so used to seeing him as Kelso. What do you think?
I think part of it's that, and I think part of it's like it's just, I don't know.
He's aged.
He and Reese were both just phoning it in on this.
They did not have chemistry.
They didn't either. Yeah, they definitely did not.
They have friend chemistry. But like from a romantic chemistry standpoint, I felt that he had more chemistry with her neighbor, who was a man, by the way, and that was like messing with her plants. And then I felt like she had more chemistry with, guess what? I'm going to do it again.
Oh gosh, here we go.
Jackson Avery from Grey's Anatomy. And fun fact, that actor isn't even on Grey's Anatomy anymore, but we're still going to say that. Also on a season of Only Murders, he played Toblerone. I think his name is Jesse in real life, but we're not going to call him that. I think she had more chemistry with him because he's like some famous like author, publisher, something or other. This house shows you how much we paid attention to that movie. And they go on a couple dates in New York, and I thought that they had more chemistry than her and Ashton did. But
I'm suddenly remembering why I felt like this movie was so long. And it's not because it's a long movie or that it dragged out, but because we paused it halfway through and like looked for a pair of jeans for 45 minutes.
Why do you have to bring that up? This is what happens when we watch an episode of Abbott Elementary before we record. You come at me for this. We found the jeans.
You were like, I got to find this pair of jeans and get them washed. And I'm like, okay, I'll go get them. And they were not where you said. And then we ended up like 45 minutes of searching for a pair of jeans, and they were literally right next to where we were looking, but just not exactly where we were looking.
I had my reason originally why I put them in that location.
Okay. And then you forgot that reason.
And then we had a 45-minute interlude of our Valentine's Day evening to find my pair of jeans. So I'm winning life, you guys. Just like you could say the characters in this movie are winning life. Obviously, they realize, their dreams, and then they get together kind of very rushed. There was the whole thing about, like, where, you have had the conflict. It was about as resolved as quickly as Hallmark conflict is.
Yeah, it was.
That's why I say this is like a Hallmark movie with two big names and more than kissing. And I was like, okay, because he wrote this book that he kept in his oven, because the whole joke, like, I don't cook, I don't use my oven. And I'm like, what if she had preheated that oven? What would you have done? Anyway, that could have caused a fire. That's a fire hazard.
It really is. Don't put paper in the oven.
Barely
folks.
focused on the book thing at all at the end.
Yeah, like that was a big part of like the first and second act of the story, and
I was
then
interested in that part
and
of
then
the story.
the end of the fourth, like at the end, it was a whittled down to the story ended, and they were doing like and here is 6 months later,
Yeah.
and it was like, and he published his book, and that's all they said about it at the end, and it's like,
And then he ended up staying in LA with her, which I guess if she's taking a job as like an editor, you can pretty much work from anywhere. It was all very odd. Would I recommend it? Yeah, I would if you're looking for just an easy rom-com on Netflix that's not the best, but you just kind of want to kick back and watch something, I'd go ahead and give this a go.
I wouldn't. I would say if you want a good, easy, fun rom-com, go watch Palm Springs on YouTube with Andy Samberg.
No, that's a
Not
really
YouTube,
good
Hulu.
one.
That's
I
an
was like,
excellent.
YouTube.
That is probably
Yes.
one of my favorite rom-coms ever.
That is a really good one.
And it was the same thing. It was made for Hulu. It was never
Yes.
released in theaters, but it's excellent.
I thought that one was good, and then I really liked it was called Love Hard with Nina Dobrev. It was a Christmas
that
one
one was
from a
good,
couple
too.
years ago that they did for Netflix. Christmas rom-com. So because Netflix is trying to have like their own little Hallmark things. I thought that one was hilarious and
Yeah,
good.
that one was good.
And then Always Be, my favorite, I really like Palm Springs one, but of Netflix, Always Be My Maybe with Asian Jim. I don't know what the actor's name is in real life. You've seen that with me.
I'm
I make
blanking
you
on
watch
that
it. It's
one.
like the comedian Ali Wong is the comedian.
Yeah, I know.
And they obviously they get together. And it's got Keanu Reeves in it as himself.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I
Yeah.
remember that one now.
That one's one of my favorite. I've probably rewatched that one like 4 or 5 times.
I still think I like Palm Springs better, but
Palm Springs
Palm Springs has a time loop
Yeah.
in it, so
And Palm Springs is kind of deep. But you know what else is kind of interesting? Daniel's selection for our viewing on Valentine's Day.
okay. Listen, I want to defend myself here real quick. All right, I just Google searched Star Trek Valentine's episodes, and the first option, I clicked on it, and it gave us 4 options. 2 of them were series that you had no context
Yeah.
for, so it would be useless to see them. So there were 2 of them. One, and I was like, one was original series, one was next gen, and I was probably leaning towards next gen for you.
Until you told me it was Wesley Crusher focus. Shut up, Wesley. I don't want to watch
So
Wesley's
we ended up
teenage
watching
drama.
the season 2 premiere episode of the original Star Trek,
Yes.
Amok Time. By the way, for everybody listening, Hope's first original series Star Trek episode.
I've watched episodes of the original
the
series.
full thing all the way through from start to finish.
Okay.
What'd you think?
Well, the episode, you failed to describe it,
Oh, that's right. I didn't tell you what the episode description was.
was about a Vulcan mating ritual. So my choices were watch Wesley Crusher be annoying in the next gen. No interest in that. At this point, it's no contest. I promised Daniel I'd watch something Star Trek as long as it wasn't a movie. Vulcan mating ritual it is. I'm going to say this, T'Pring, the casting of her in Strange New Worlds, incredible.
Yeah.
Those actresses look the same.
Yeah.
She was what I would call in this show as serving CUNT with her attitude. So I don't even know like how to describe it. Basically,
The premise of the episode is Vulcans. Spock is a Vulcan.
yes.
Every 7 years, male Vulcans have to mate, or they will die. And
I feel like a human male wrote this episode.
and
because
also,
every day a human male must mate or he will die. Like that.
and
Am I
so
wrong?
Vulcans also keep their cultural stuff very close to the vest. So he doesn't really want to tell Captain Kirk why he needs to go to Vulcan.
So
but
instead, he'll throw soup
But he
out of
starts
his room.
acting real emotional and out of character, and so finally after basically stealing the Enterprise for a hot second, he comes clean to Kirk as to why he needs to go to Vulcan.
I thought he
And
came clean to McCoy.
No, he told Kirk, and then McCoy is the one that did the medical exam and said, "Hey, something's wrong here."
Yeah, McCoy kind of figured out that he needed to
but
get
Kirk's
some.
the one that got the information out of him.
But you know what? We learned in this episode that just like males and female humans, that sometimes you can have the urge, but the ick is stronger. Spock got the ick from T'Pring. Because she was like, you know what, she's been doing this other guy, Vulcan guy on the side the whole time. Yeah. But she still decides, because she is so mean, she's like, I just want to, hurt Spock even more. So
well, it wasn't even about that.
I'm going to pick Kirk.
She set it up so that either way it went, she got the guy she wanted.
Yeah, but she also rubbed salt in the wound because she's not a great person. And Kirk's just kind of like, yeah, okay. And then, of course, it was the whole mess around. Like, McCoy gave him, stuff that would make Kirk seem like he's dead.
Yeah, so Spock thinks he's killed Kirk in the battle for the rights to, do it with T'Pring.
T'Pring, yeah.
And then, so Spock is like, Spock wins, and he goes over and he's like, I'm not interested in you anymore. I release you.
And he ate. The way he told that guy was like, sometimes when you finally have, I don't know what exactly he said, you realize it was better to have not had or something. And I'm like, oh. So he got the ick.
Yeah.
Spock got the ick because he was about to die because, he needed to, get him some. And it was just like the ick. I don't know, womp womp.
It was as soon as T'Pring came clean on what her motives were this whole time.
Yeah,
he was like, "I'm out. Sorry, bad. You can have her. I'm not interested anymore." And it's interesting because these characters are on Strange New Worlds, which is prequel to this episode, and you can kind of see that relationship starting to develop there too. So, what'd you think overall? Your first real watch? This is a 1968 TV show.
I want to know why the people that watch Strange New Worlds took issue with the musical episode when we have out-of-pocket episodes like this that exist.
This is not one of
the Star Trek universe.
This is not even one of the weirder.
Not to mention, didn't one episode of Next Gen, Sherlock Holmes came to life or something?
In the holodeck, yeah, sure.
Okay, yeah. So that's why anytime Star Trek fans want to get all nitpicky about stuff, I'm like, y'all realize the shows that you're watching? I really liked how the Vulcan guys looked like they were dressed like baked potatoes with the tinfoil on.
Listen, they had a budget. It was a 60s budget. They had to do with what they had to do with.
McCoy's still my favorite from the movies that I watched. I think, and I liked him in the Kelvin universe as well, which also played by Carl.
He's one of the more faithful adaptations between those two.
I really like them. I think we need to meet him soon on Strange New Worlds. I would like him to be cast. I have a bone to pick with you, though.
Okay.
Because you were like, I don't know where they got this Chapel Spock thing from when we started watching Strange New Worlds. You said that to me, which prompted me before I watched this episode, because that's the cool person I am, to Google Nurse Chapel Spock relationship. She's always had the hots for Spock. It just, her character might have not been as prominent in the OGC, so they didn't just pull that out of thin air. They're working off something. And in this Vulcan mating ritual episode that we saw, where she tried to bring him the soup and then he threw the soup at the wall because he was, I guess, horny for T'Pring. I don't know. The whole thing was a thing. She was totally into him. And I'm like, Daniel, you are insane. Just like you tried to say that Picard and Wesley's mom didn't have a thing. I'm like, are you high?
I mean, I watched all of these things. And first of all, I hadn't actually...
Excuse me. I watched Next Generation when I was a kid with my dad, and I picked up on the mood.
I hadn't actually seen this episode of the original series. I have not seen all of them. What do you have to say for yourself
about Next Gen? I picked up on the vibes when I was 6.
Listen, do we have to talk about my flirt radar on this podcast?
Yeah, you're bad at that.
I can't tell. I'm blind to it. I'm completely blind to it. It doesn't matter. Women, men, it doesn't matter. I can't tell that that's happening. I just think, oh, that person's really nice.
What do you think about me when I would flirt with you?
I had no idea.
I flirt with everybody, though.
I had no idea.
Right? Just kidding.
Yeah. You've seen it happen at restaurants.
Yeah,
and I'm just like,
I've seen men and women flirt with you at restaurants.
I mean, so what did you expect from a kid me watching these shows, not picking up on any of those signals?
Deviated. I will say this about the OG series. I want to know why everybody in life is always like, oh, this, what time period did this take place? The 60s or the 70s?
when did they film the show?
Yes.
The 60s, late 60s.
And everyone's like, oh, women were so chaste back then. Apparently not in like futuristic worlds of Star Trek, because those dresses, which look like shirts, they barely covered a butt cheek. And they were so tight that even like the actresses, like I could see some like back fat on these skinny women because the dresses were so tight on them. And I'm like, thinking y'all want us to always think that women dress so chaste back then? No. Clearly I think the men are probably the ones that designed that. Because they were short. I don't remember the movies being that short. When you had me watch that movie, I don't remember the dresses being that short. They were short, but they weren't that short.
Yeah, and they some of, like, a lot of the female characters in the movies aren't even wearing. I think Ahura is still wearing one.
I would totally wear the dress.
Aren't.
Let's get this straight. I would wear the dress with the cute little boots, but I don't think I'd want it that short.
So the dress that they used in the original series episodes or Strange New Worlds, which one's?
I like the one that they. I know that you're gonna knock me on this. I actually like the Kelvin universe, the way they did the dress.
Okay.
That Gamora.
Of all the things that
Gamora's in Star Trek.
Yes, of all the criticisms I have of the Kelvin universe, the uniforms are not one of them. They
I am
did a pretty good
confused
job
though
there.
now on Kurt's. I always thought that it was gold and it looked green to me when I watched the show.
It's a whole thing. I'm not going to get into it now because we'll be here forever.
Speaking of old shows, we also watched the Golden Girls season 4 Valentine's Day episode where the gals remember Valentines of years past. I knew it was the one where they go to the nudist resort, fun in the buff. I completely forgot that was the famous. Say it for us.
Condoms, Rose. Condoms, 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 condoms.
Jeez, lady, just get out of prison. If you haven't watched the Golden Girls, they're a hoot. Go watch the Golden Girls. And then we also watched the season 6 Frasier Valentine's Day episode, mainly for Niles. The whole, like, if you talk about physical comedy, and just Niles spiraling, setting the couch on fire. He goes, how does he set the couch on fire? At first, he brings out the iron because he sees a small wrinkle in his pants. He irons it, realizes
he ends up
cutting himself.
He stains the couch, and so he brings out some couch remover, which is flammable.
But then he sees the blood and he faints.
Yeah, and he faints, and it's just, it's funny.
A classic. So that was our Valentine's Day episode. And then we did watch not a lot of new shows.
No, not right now.
But there were 2 episodes of The Bachelor that dropped. You watched some of it with me. I watched most of it by myself.
I'm going to go out on a limb and agree with you. This is boring.
Yeah, it's not great. The drama is not great. I love The Bachelor. Joey's probably my favorite Bachelor in years. This 2-part, even Marvin's bored. He's snoring. I don't know if you can hear him on here. Our little third co-host. I fell asleep for 30 minutes of the second episode. I don't know why we got 2 episodes last week, but these women are so catty, some of them. I've really never been as triggered as I am this season watching The Bachelor, because some of these women are straight up awful. One of the girls was like, so we got rid of like the one truly mean girl. She's gone. Goodbye. Okay. See you later. I don't think that anybody that goes on the show deserves death threats, anything like that. That's out of pocket. That's terrible. But she still has not come out and apologized on social media, and she's still doubling down. And I'm like, come on, lady. But then one of the other girls, who we all thought was going to be nice, you know that Tyra meme, like, we were rooting for you. I was rooting for you. She's the one that threw that date card in the fire, and I thought she was going to be a real, like, great person. She basically goes up to this other girl and was like, I'm mad at you because you weren't mean to so-and-so when Sydney left. And I'm like, you are basically saying you're mad at somebody because she wasn't being mean to another contestant. And the big rumor is, which I am a little disappointed about it, but now I'm feeling justified, is they're going to take a year off from Bachelor in Paradise because none of the couples worked out last time. And we know Golden Bachelorette is going to air in its traditional slot. Now with the way a lot of these actors, some of them might be actors, with the way a lot of these ladies are behaving this season, good. Punish them, because at the point you get more influencer status if you go on Bachelor in Paradise, and if they wait a year and then they have to compete with the other set of contestants from another Bachelor show, that's going to get harder for some of them to get on there. And I say, you know what, fine. And they did that with Pilot Pete's season, who is in another show we're going to talk about in just a few seconds. But my take with The Bachelor, from what I've seen, is that some of these girls are so mean, and so it's really hard to watch when you see people being that mean. But they finally got to travel and go somewhere. Nothing's ever going to top, though, Pilot Pete season with the, and you were all going to Cleveland. Nothing will ever
What's wrong
top
with Cleveland?
that.
It's just like Miami.
But speaking of Pilot Pete, we had several of you suggest we watch the show called Traitors on Peacock. It's a bunch of different reality TV contestants sent to live in like a castle, I think, and people are designated as traitors, and then people you can get like murdered. It kind of reminds me almost of like a Clue type
that's
thing.
what I was thinking when they were describing it. It's kind of like Clue, but they couldn't get the rights to Clue.
But they're still doing challenges like they do on like MTV's The Challenge. And
I like the suggestion that we got from one person that was like, I think you'll like it. I'm not sure about Daniel.
yeah, we got that.
They may be right.
That was from Nice Fowl at John Paul Fowl. Said that we would like, or suggested this show and was like, you might like it, Daniel might not. I'd say that's a correct assessment.
I think that's a very good assessment.
As you haven't watched as much reality TV as I have, but Pilot Pete is in this show.
I know you're very excited about it for some reason. I'm not sure why.
I just didn't think he would be the type that would do the show. And I've been told, so we've only seen the first 2 episodes, but I've been told that he's like actually good at it. And I guess when you have a mom like Barb, maybe you can be more conniving than I thought. Johnny Bananas from The Challenge.
Jonathan
CT
Bananas.
from The Challenge. I know the first episode, Johnny Bananas is gone. That's who they decide to murder. You were like, I thought you hated Johnny Bananas. And I'm like, but he makes good TV. And then they've got people from like Love Island, from Big Brother. I've never watched Big Brother. They have Maxim Smirkowski from, that's like the only one you probably know from Dancing with the Stars.
He's the only person I know there.
Like, and then you sort of remember Pilot Pete from
Vaguely.
briefly from The Bachelor. It's all right so far. I think I'm, again, a fair assessment. I'm going to like it more than you. Oh, but wait, I forgot to mention the big thing on it that I hyperfixated on and couldn't get past the first episode and had to Google. Scottie Pippen's ex-wife is on, and Michael Jordan's son is on, and apparently they're like dating. What?
It's weird.
And the age difference, fine. I'm not going to be, because you were like, oh, are you being sexist about the age? And no, I'm not. The age difference doesn't really bother me. I think it's like they're 17 years apart or something. I'm bothered by the fact that Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan, like, even if they're not best of friends, I don't even think they like each other anymore because went down that rabbit hole too, FYI, about the fragileness of their friendship. But the fact that they were close teammates together for years, that's just odd. It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah, I think it's weird.
And then I guess they split and now they're back together and they were at the Super Bowl together or something. But they're on the show. That caused me to go down a huge rabbit hole just about Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan alone. Apparently, Scottie Pippen did not like The Last Dance. He thought that it was too focused on Michael Jordan, even though Michael Jordan said he couldn't have done it without Scottie. I remember him saying that. Scottie Pippen was really annoyed and thought it made it seem like they only won because of Jordan and didn't celebrate like their team success as much. And then people are saying that this has fractured their relationship.
Did they win any championships without him?
No.
Okay.
He was kind of, I don't know. It's like a thing. And if you like, and so then I started reading about the downfall of their friendship, but they're claiming that now they're just like coworkers. They're still friends. They're still cordial. It was a whole thing, y'all. So that's what I got out of Traitors was spending 2 hours Googling the relationship dynamics between Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan. Thank you very much. Thank you for that, Internet.
I'll continue to give it a try, but I just don't know. I don't see it being my kind of reality show. All right, and we have reached the time of the episode where we're going to talk about the OC, and we are here on a somber note with the final episode of season 3 of the OC, and it's kind of the one we've been both dreading getting to because we knew what was going to happen, and it happened.
And I hate it.
And I hate it. Yeah, I agree.
It. This episode aired on May 18th, 2006, and was titled The Graduates. The episode synopsis from IMDb says, on graduation day, Marissa is leaving to be with her dad, but Volchuk has feelings for her and is angry at Ryan. So, yeah, season 3. I've seen clips of Marissa's death scene in the past, but I have not rewatched this scene since it originally aired. In all my OC rewatches that I've done without you, I usually would skip season 3 anyway and just watch the first 2 seasons. I have not watched this for a reason because it sucks. And I'm still mad about it to this day. I am still mad about this decision to this day. There's so many things that have been said about Misha Barton and how, she was kind of problematic to work with, could be late on set. And then they've also said stuff about the network was pressuring them to make big moves, that they needed some. Apparently, one of the recent things they're saying is that they need, in order to move on for a season 4, they had to kill her off. And I'm like, no, we didn't. No one asked for a season 4 then. You could have ended it on. So there's so many different things going around. At the end of the day, I feel very much like they can deny it all they want. I feel like they wanted to punish Misha Barton, and by doing so, they punished a character. Maybe she wasn't beloved by everybody, because Marissa is a character that's a little bit. People always say they want a complex female character. Then they get one like Marissa, and what do? They complain. Is that correct?
No, I agree.
And you punish the fans too. At least I do very much compare Misha Barton and Shannon Doherty a lot by just different stories you've heard. They didn't vibe with the rest of the cast as much. At least when Brenda was written off 90210, they wrote it off with a chance that she could come back. She was off in London, acting school. She got away. She needed to get away. Honestly, the character, if you watch those last episodes of 90210 of season 4, it makes sense. Just like Marissa, I don't disagree that she needed to get out of there. Why couldn't they have just written her off to live with stupid busted Jimmy?
They had multiple ways to write her off. I mean, they could have just let her go to college.
But then Ryan...
Well, they could have come up with a reason why Ryan didn't go to college. Or
just not had season 4.
Yeah, or not have season 4. But like you said, or they could have had a reason why, she's not going to go to college. She's going to go live with Jimmy in Hawaii. Or, I mean, even in that episode, multiple times they gave outs that almost made it seem like if you were watching at the time and not knowing, that's how they're going to do it.
Yeah.
What they did at the end of the episode was just so out of left field and just so like, wait, why are you doing this?
I think I knew, again, that we all knew that Misha was leaving, but I don't think I really thought that they were going to kill her off. I really didn't. Because I remember when season 4 premiered, wondering if they were going to be like, she's at the hospital, she's fine, but she's even more reason for her to get out of here. She needs to leave. Right,
because they left that as, it just was such an abrupt ending too, because he pulls her out of the car, she dies, and then credits.
Yeah,
and they played their normal music over the
terrible.
credits. They didn't even keep it somber, and it was just I didn't care for it.
They mirrored the Tijuana scene when she in season 1 OD'd and almost died with Ryan carrying her. They try to do that symbolism. Take your symbolism and shove it, because I'm still mad about this.
I did not. I'll just put it this way: for a main character of the show, some you might argue the main character of the show, or at least
when I shut my eyes and think about the OC, I picture Marissa Cooper standing, looking at Ryan in that car, wearing and you know where she is, and kind of the sunlight behind her.
That first shot.
That's what I think about when I think about the OC.
So for a main character like that, I just thought it was a very distasteful way to say goodbye to that character, one way or the other.
It felt like
even
they
in
wanted
death,
to punish
even if they still were sure that character had to die. It just the way they did it with the all that, I didn't like it. It sucked. It's awful.
It felt like they really wanted, again, to punish the actress, but by doing that, you punish the fans. And I kind of do, I do disagree with what you're saying about we could have sent her off to Berkeley, because we had that episode where she was kind of like, you know what, I don't think college is for me at this time, and I think that's normal because college isn't for everybody.
And that was them setting up for her to go do something else and not be on the show.
To kind of find herself, get away from that area, and as great as her friendship with Summer was, as her relationship with her mom had been mended, and, you could argue, was her relationship with Ryan great or not? I'm going to argue and say we never really got a chance to see them fully happy.
No.
Ever. They're both very much the same type of people. They're so alike in their savior complexes that maybe they weren't the right match for each other, and maybe they wouldn't have worked out in the future. You could make all those arguments all the day long, but I think we could have had a satisfying send-off without even ever seeing Marissa Cooper again, by having her go live with Jimmy, knowing that she was finally doing better, and they ripped that out from under us. It was just stupid, and I'm still mad about it. It hurts. I cried. You didn't cry. I cried watching it again, just like I did back then. And I do remember being frustrated when I watched season 3 live, I like all the Johnny stuff with Marissa and then her with like Volchek, because it just seemed like they didn't know what to do with the character, but like they were finally getting the character to be in a good place. I would have been fine with them just writing her off, sending her off to live with Jimmy.
If they had written her off in that way, it would actually have been a satisfying conclusion to that character.
It would have.
And it would have been like, I don't need anything more out of this character, because what we saw through the arc of the show was that she needs to get out of this toxic environment that she's in. And so for her to kind of come to these conclusions, be like, oh, I got into college, but that's not really for me. Oh, me and Ryan are in a good place, and all that stuff. And then to say, okay, now I'm going to get out of this and go do things, would have been a very satisfying arc.
Like, I need to go find who I am.
They just rug pull you in the last 5 minutes of the episode, and it's like, what are you doing?
She's like, she kind of needs to find like who she is, what she wants, get away from a place she's known all her life, be completely out of her comfort zone, because she was like gonna like work on a boat, which was funny. It didn't hit well, and like you said, the end, it felt very much like a disrespect to the character,
which sounds like it probably was.
And then I completely forgot that it was Ryan's car that his mom had bought, and I was like, oh crap, because I would have even been, if they're like, oh, we need to do something big at the end to get confirmed, fine. Make it seem like she's going to die, and then have season 4 roll around. We find out that the ambulance got there and they were able to save her. And that was, enough for Marissa to be like, I have to get away from here. So you could still have had your big shocking moment and keep the character alive and still have your season 4 if you wanted. Other notable things from that episode, I felt like before, I couldn't enjoy it because I knew it was coming, but before that, they all revisited the model home from season, which I was like, Summer never even was there, right?
Yeah, she wasn't there.
But I got to see them acting like kids again. That was fun.
Which makes it all the worse in hindsight. Again, the whole episode viewed from the perspective of knowing what's happening makes that episode look completely different.
And then obviously Volchek's reasoning was he had feelings for her.
So running her off the road,
I guess, is the way to
solution
do that.
To those feelings.
It was just really sad, and I completely disagree with the way they did that. We are going to talk about season 4 next week, and I do like that season 4 kind of got back to a lighter format from season 1, but at the same time, it didn't need to be. We could have either ended the show. I still think we could have had a season 4 without Marissa Cooper, but we could have had her at a happy ending. Like we knew, and you know what? God bless them, Hillary Burton Morgan and Chad Michael Murray, for fighting for their characters, and they were older than Misha was when they made the determination. Like I think Misha was still like 20 maybe. She was still very young, and you do know that they were going to kill Peyton off on One Tree Hill.
You told me, yes.
Those two fought and were like, no. Basically, they went to bat for their characters. And yes, Peyton and Lucas leave, but we knew that they got. I mean, I can't even imagine if they had killed Peyton off and then they still had Lucas leave and everything. That would have been terrible, awful. It would have ruined the show for me. Just like this kind of ruins the OC for me.
Yeah. Yep.
And on that note, you find out next week what we think about season 4.
Yep, and that wraps up this week's episode. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
Thanks for listening to this episode of We Watch TV, a podcast about the TV shows we watch. You can find more from Hope and Daniel on Instagram at We Watch TV Podcast. Drop us a line if you like the show, have a question, or a recommendation. You can find Hope on Twitter at Lil Runner and Daniel on Twitter at The Real Hobo Dan. Music for today's podcast was provided by Your Tunes from Pixabay. Artwork was created using the AI program Midjourney with prompts written by Daniel.